Space is big. You won't believe how vastly, hugely, mind-bogglingly big it is. I mean, you might think it's a long way down the road to the chemists, but that's peanuts compared to space. Throughout history, humanity has always looked to the stars, our natural urge to explore driving us to the final frontier. In this time, only a select few will be able to experience space travel for real. And besides, actual space travel is really complicated, whereas in Elite Dangerous, it's easy to traverse the... Oh no, not again. Wow, it's getting really warm in here. And what's with all the flashing lights and alarms? Alright, so maybe it's not as simple after all. People often refer to Elite Dangerous as a spaceship simulator more than a game. Maybe this is a holdover from the original Elite, which was released in 1984, a time when you needed a master's degree to play some games. Unlike nowadays, when games are little more than just walking in a straight line, shooting the things that shoot at you, and taking 53 bullets to the cranium. Elite Dangerous takes time, patience, and maybe a little help to even master the basics of the game. And one of the biggest killers of new players isn't pirates, or asteroids, or Thargoids, but running out of fuel. That's where the Fuel Rats come in. The Fuel Rats are a group of commanders dedicated to helping players in any way they can, especially by filling up their tanks when they get too low. After the introduction of the Fuel Transfer Limpet controller module, a commander by the name of Surly Badger decided to start a group of commanders to fly across the galaxy, delivering fuel to whoever needed it. Thus, the Fuel Rats Mischief was born. I was able to contact Surly Badger and ask him some questions about the Fuel Rats. Why did you decide to create the Fuel Rats?
Well, it really wasn't so much of a decision as it was just something that happened. I remember they had just come out with the fuel exchange limpet technology, presumably because a lot of people were running out of fuel. And that made me realize that they were missing the other half, which is someone to deliver the fuel. And I was sitting around with Mossfoot in the bar, and I said, we ought to start an organization to deliver fuel to people that don't have friends who'll come rescue them, and we can just kind of be friends to people in need. And that's really how it happened. I'd lost a ship back on my way to Hutton Orbital about a year earlier, and I understood running out of fuel is something that can happen. So it just seemed like a good idea, and we started the organization. We ran up the flag, we did some postings, and then we waited, and we never thought anybody was gonna answer and say they needed help. And now it's been a couple years and 50,000 plus rescues. So I guess it's been pretty good.
What do you think of what the Fuel Rats has become since the beginning?
Well, the Fuel Rats are the best set of pilots in the universe as far as I'm concerned. They solve the most complicated problems. They go the farthest. They do crazy, glorious feats in order to save people that they don't know for basically no reward other than the bragging rights. What do I think of the Fuel Rats? I'm incredibly proud. But of course, I don't claim any credit for any of that. All I did was started the ball rolling. It was the Fuel Rats themselves and their amazing awesomeness that created the Fuel Rats as we come to know them now.
Eventually, the Fuel Rats became more organised, but not necessarily in the traditional sense. While there are roles within the organisation, dispatcher, overseer, etc., all Fuel Rats are more or less equal. There is no command structure like in military. There is the doctrine of individual excellence, where each rat is expected to do the best they can when representing the mischief. Essentially, it's, if we do our best individually, then collectively we'll be awesome. The Fuel Rats now have their own website, an IRC where the rescues are conducted, and have a decal that they can add to their ships. The Fuel Rats have a set of standard operating procedures that every ratling must learn, and then pass a drill in order to become a fully fledged Fuel Rat. While I do not have enough time to go through every single detail of the standard operating procedures, I can briefly go through what you'd be expected to do should you ever need aid from the Fuel Rats. While this is not how all cases will go, there are many exceptions and additions to what might need to happen. This is how standard cases go. If you run out of fuel and are unable to make it somewhere to refuel, don't panic. Simply go to the Fuel Rats website, click the Get Help button, then the Yes I Need Fuel button. Input the information there and click Start and you'll be taken to the IRC. If your ship is completely run out of fuel and you're on emergency oxygen, Take note of the name of the star system that you're in and log out immediately. Do not log back in unless specifically told to. This will buy you some precious time. If not, drop out of Super Cruise and come to a complete stop. Disable all of your ship's modules except for life support to conserve fuel. You will then be asked to add the rats assigned to your case to your friends list and add them to a wing. Then turn on your wing beacons so that they can find you. Instructions on how to do all of this will be provided for you. Then all you have to do is sit and wait. Some clients ask if there is a way to repay the fuel rats. Whilst there are links to donate money and buy merchandise on the website, all we ask is that you spread the word. The majority of cases undertaken by the fuel rats are usually very standard. However, every now and again we get a more unusual case. One such case was Operation Neospike. Commander Neospike had completely run out of fuel along a long trip, with nothing to power his life support and down to emergency oxygen. Fortunately, a fuel rat was able to save him before the worst happened, but there was a bigger problem. Neospike's ship had suffered significant damage along his voyage, rendering his fuel scoop inoperative. Unable to refuel himself from stars, and over 3,600 light years away from civilization, it would be impossible for Neospike to get to a station on his own. 6 more fuel rats joined the operation. Each would wait for Neospike at different points along the route, making a relay for his ship to rendezvous and refuel. The whole operation took 3 days, but Neospike eventually made it home to safety. If you hang around the fuel rats enough, you might hear the mention of Snickers a lot. This goes back to an occasion when pirates held a rat hostage. The pirates called for help, and once the rat arrived, threatened to destroy them if they weren't given 200 tons of platinum. The rats took this very well. When the first rat was unable to stay being a hostage for the pirates, another gladly stepped in, doing his best to annoy his captors. Another rat attempted to become hostage but had technical issues. The rats gave a counter-offer. They would take their commander back if the pirates gave them 100 tons of gold and 3 Snickers bars. Eventually, the pirates got bored and destroyed the hostage. But this event does perfectly demonstrate something about the fuel rats. A rat can do whatever they like when they're off duty, but when they're on a rescue, representing the Fuel Rats Mischief, there is no fighting or taking sides. Also, Snickers are great. A recent rescue which garnered a lot of attention is Operation Beyond the Dark Edge. Commander Diluvian Reyes Cruz was attempting to break the record for the furthest distance travelled from Sol without assistance. This feat does not only require travelling to the furthest star, but also flying out into the black void of nothing outside of our galaxy. 141 light years into the black, just 16 light years shy of breaking the record, Commander Diluvian realised he did not have enough fuel to make the jump to the nearest star, which was a requirement to break the record. When Diluvian called the fuel rats, it was clear that the rescue was going to take more planning than usual. Eventually, it was decided that 5 rats would be sent. 2 to refuel Diluvian, 2 who would be tankers to refuel the rescuing rats, to make sure they'd have enough fuel for Diluvian and to jump away themselves, and 1 to provide repairs and various support once the refueling had been completed. So not only did the rats have to get to the other side of the galaxy, after outfitting their ships especially, they would also have to spend 600 hours, or 25 days, flying non-stop to reach Diluvian. The entire rescue took a little under 2 months. I spoke with a fuel rat to ask some questions. When did you first hear about the fuel rats?
I first heard about the Fuel Rats when I was streaming Elite Dangerous, and someone from the Elite Dangerous community wandered in and asked me if I knew about the Fuel Rats. I'm like, no, what's that? They told me about it, and I thought, that's cool, that's really a group I need to be a part of.
Why did you join the fuel rats?
I joined the Fuel Rats because I really love what the group does. It goes around the Elite Dangerous galaxy, and no matter where you are in Elite Dangerous, as been proven time and time again, we will answer the call to come rescue commanders that are stranded out in space. Whether it be someplace in the player bubble, really close to the starting points, or where all the rest of most of the human colonies in the galaxy are, or on the complete opposite end of the galaxy, some of the furthest points from Sol, such as Beagle Point, or even like around Sagittarius A, we will come rescue you. And I really wanted to be a part of that kind of group where we go help commanders, help educate commanders. We do a lot of help and teaching with new commanders. So I love thinking about how a commander's coming into the game brand new, they get stranded, they're like, wow, this game has thrown so much at me, I didn't fully understand it, but now I'm stuck, and there's no one really to like do anything with and teach me about this. I need really help, and what can I do? And right there on Frontier's FAQ is, hey, if you run out of fuel, you can explode your ship or call the Fuel Rats, and it gives you a link to the website, which is really amazing. And you can go there and you can ask for help, and the Fuel Rats will come and educate new commanders on how to manage their fuel and do basic things about the game. And then they can then join the IRC as well and get more tips and tricks from seasoned Fuel Rats.
What do you think the existence of groups like the Fuel Rats says about the Elite Dangerous community as a whole?
Well, let me be honest with you. Elite's kind of boring. If the Fuel Rats hadn't happened, I probably would have quit, because I had other things that were more interesting to do. The whole idea of Elite is to make your own way in the universe and come up with your own story and build your own adventures. And so I think a certain amount of what happened with the Fuel Rats was to just respond to the desire to do something, to accomplish something, to have a mission, right? Because we basically built our own adventure structure and our own questing structure around rescues. Each rescue is an individual, unique adventure, and it's got time pressure, which makes it exciting, and then sometimes you get someone who's running out of air, and that makes it exciting. So I think, perhaps you could look at the existence of the Fuel Rats as commentary on maybe that Elite is not a particularly exciting game, or that it lacked a certain something, and that groups like the Fuel Rats and Aramis's Expedition and so forth are essentially providing gameplay options that Frontier couldn't figure out how to build into the game in a way that was useful. And I think it's a comment about the game. I'm not sure quite what the comment is, but it's a comment about the game.
I think that the existence of that kind of a community group within the Elite Dangerous community just shows how strongly connected players can feel about helping other players. You don't always have to go into a game and want to kill other people. You can go and genuinely dedicate yourself to helping other commanders in the game, to rescuing, to doing monumental feats, to be able to save other people. And it just really speaks to the core of the goodness in people, that they want to help out others in the galaxy, in the simple game. But that game is carried throughout the world. The Elite Dangerous community has such a varied world population. Being like a part of the Fuel Rats, you get to see all different kinds of languages, all different kinds of commanders and walks of life, all interacting together, playing this amazing game. And when they have trouble, they come and contact the Fuel Rats. And I feel like being a part of the Fuel Rats, it just brings everything together, and it really speaks to me as far as the great community and how tight-knit and close-knit the community is, and how they all come around. And when the Fuel Rats do need help, there was a story about this a while ago, they do answer the call. And that just, it amazes me that a group like the Fuel Rats can touch so many lives of players of just a simple game, that I'm just so honored to be a part of it.
I love Elite Dangerous, not just because of its story elements or gameplay mechanics, although those are really good. I love Elite Dangerous for its community, and the Fuel Rats are a shining example of this. Some people ask why the Fuel Rats would go to so much effort just to save a bunch of pixels. The answer to that is, helping people is fun. Particularly with newer commanders, the Fuel Rats don't just refuel them and send them on their way, but show them how to avoid running out of fuel in the future as well. Give a commander some fuel, they'll fly for a day. Teach a commander to refuel, they'll fly for life. Many will go even further to help out in other aspects as well, making sure that a commander can fend for themselves. And even when the more experienced commanders get into a spot of bother, they can always rely on the Fuel Rats. While there may be a few who want to see the galaxy burn, there are many more who are proud to be part of this community, and want to help it thrive. This is what the Fuel Rats do. They help the galaxy thrive by helping players, old and new, resolve and prevent one of the biggest problems facing any commander, an empty tank. So, if you ever happen to find yourself in the black, running on fumes and nowhere to refuel, call the Fuel Rats. And remember, we have fuel, you don't. Any questions?